Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Brothers and sisters in Islam, welcome to another live stream by the Muslim Apologists and my co-host today, Islamic Calling.
Sorry guys for being late. Baby brother MENJ can explain why.
Yeah, it's very simple. I fell asleep. Yeah, I fell asleep and then when I woke up, I was like, oh yikes, it's 9:30. Oh my god,
Today we're going to discuss your debate, your famous debate with Apus. So how was the experience?
Of course. Oh, it was fun actually. To be honest, I was fun. To be honest, when I first got onto the debate, I wasn't really sure for myself because I was thinking, oh my, this guy is probably going to hit me with a lot of points that I couldn't answer. But as the debate progresses, I realized that I over prepared because you could see from the way he did his opening statement, right? He was just focusing on a specific incident involving Salman Rushdie. He wasn't. I mean, that doesn't prove that Islam is dangerous. I mean, the topic is Islam dangerous to the world? Just because some guy named Salman Rushdie was stabbed by some anonymous guy who claims to be a Muslim doesn't prove that Islam is a danger to the world. I mean, how does that prove anything? In fact, right? That's one point. Yeah, maybe you can add on to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, inshallah, as we watch the video. He made a lot of stupid points.
Yeah.
But in my overall kind of to give my honest opinion, I think you won the debate fair and square because I don't think he was able to respond to your main argument. And another thing is that he brought up a lot of kind of irrelevant points. So I think overall, I think he did pretty badly, but that's not a surprise. He's just a terrible debater. Again, like I said, like I told you, like even if you put a chair against him, the chair is gonna win the debate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually come there to win or lose the debate. I just come there to refute his lies and refute whatever claims that he made against Islam specifically, and present the case for Islam. That's the reason why I accepted debates on the first place. Okay, so it doesn't matter what people think whether I won or lose, because on his channel, because he re-uploaded the debate on his channel, right? So a lot of people are saying, oh, you won, you this, you're that. And then on MDD, the response was also mixed. But on my channel, a lot of people were happy with the outcome and they were congratulating me. So you see, different people are going to have different responses to the debate. Different people are going to say, oh, my side won, your side lost. It doesn't matter. So for me, in the end, it doesn't really matter who won or lost, because people are not going to change their opinions just because of one debate. What matters is that the points, you present the points properly, you behave yourself properly. As there's one particular funny incident which I think you'll come across later, which involves me scratching my back. And I mean, I think on overall, I managed to control my emotions, and I think that's very, very important, because if I had lost it, because he was provoking me, and if I had lost it and lost myself, even though doesn't matter whether my points were good or not, if I lost myself and I started hitting him with insults and all that, I automatically would have he would have won by default. I would have automatically lost the debate. It's really that simple. Because people want to see.
I mean, the thing about live debates is that the guy with the most followers, whoever has the most followers, it seems like that person has won the debate, no matter what arguments you make.
Exactly.
Like if you go to the comment section, or Apus fanboys are like, "Oh, Apus won the debate,"
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I don't put stock to it on today. You see, I don't put.
Bro, let's get the show on the road. We're already late,
so do you want to cover
let the funeral begin?
Thing? Yep.
Let the funeral begin.
Okay, sure.
Come on.
Wait. Thanks to the Muslim apologists for this debate, and hello everybody.
By the way,
just recently an incident happened.
Just for a bit. I can't bear this guy's face. I mean, if I went to debate with him, I would have started laughing right away. I just cannot take this guy seriously.
if you notice, I wasn't even looking at the camera most of the time. I don't know whether you notice it, because I wasn't looking at the camera most of the time. Yeah. So I mean, I wasn't looking at him directly in his face. Okay, I was just looking sideways or glancing sideways. I wasn't even looking at him directly. Okay.
This guy's such a clown. I mean, like, yeah.
I mean, each time I look at his face, I feel like I want to punch him. So
it's not that I don't. I want to punch him. It's just I just genuinely cannot take this guy seriously. That whenever I see him, I laugh. I mean, why am I debating? Why am I debating this guy?
Emotional damage.
He has this face, which in Malaysia we call, or we term as I'll say it in the Malay, right? The Malay phrase. So the Malay phrase goes, muka minta penumbuk. So if you translate that, his face is asking for a punch.
Okay. Punchable face.
Punchable face, yeah, that's right.
And a renowned author, Salman Rushdie, was brutally attacked by a religious Muslim who had the intention to kill.
But can you pause?
Rushdie.
Yeah, Salman Rushdie.
Like, where does he get this, that this guy was religious?
No, because some random guy on the streets, stabs him and say, "Oh, I'm a Muslim," even though as it turns out he was a Shia. So therefore, it means that somehow it's related to Islam. I mean, how low can you think?
Salman Rushdie, and when Salman Rushdie did not die, it was in fact the attacker did in fact point out that that he's very surprised that Salman Rushdie did not die. So he had the clear intention to kill him. This devout Muslim who intended to kill Salman Rushdie did this for.
Where did he get he's a devout Muslim?
Devout Muslim. Where did he get the idea that this guy is a devout Muslim?
By the way, can I share a few things just to clear up this misconception regarding what this guy did is against Islam? So, for example, let me share the screen.
Yeah. Walaikum salam. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a hadith. It's on Sahih al-Bukhari. It's a hadith on treachery. Ibn Umar reported, the Messenger of Allah, peace and peace be upon him, said, when Allah gathers the earlier and later generations on the Day of Judgment, he will raise a banner for every treacherous person. It will be announced that this is the treachery of this person, the son of this person. So here, this hadith makes it clear that if someone commits treason or someone betrays someone as a Muslim, then that is considered a grave crime in Islam, and those people will be humiliated on the Day of Judgment. So if you have a contract with someone and you violate that contract, then that is a crime under Sharia. Okay, that is a crime under Sharia. So you cannot do that. This is why when you go to a non-Muslim country and you have a contract with the government that you obey their laws and stuff like that, you cannot violate those laws. Okay, otherwise you're committing treachery, and that is an offense in Islam. And this is about obeying Muslim leaders, because even scholars say that these type of things are not allowed. But even our reporter, the Prophet peace be upon him, said, it is a duty upon a Muslim man to listen and obey authorities, whether he likes it or not. Unless they command sinful disobedience. If they command a sinful disobedience, then there is no listening or obedience to them. So in general, like, you're not actually allowed to disobey your leader unless that leader says something that is against Islam. Or even in this case, there are categories. Like, for example, you can just do rebellion or like protest and stuff like that. So I think these two hadith makes it clear that what this guy did is a crime according to Sharia. You cannot just go to another land where you have a deal with them and then violate that deal. That's against Islam.
Exactly. Yes. It's not lawful.
And if you look at any fatwa site, they'll say the same thing.
Yep. So you can't just simply go to another country, another land which is not governed by Sharia, and just simply take the law into your own hands, so to speak. Okay. And by the way, apostates can't just simply be killed on the streets. You need to actually arrest them. You need to actually bring them to court, and they need to be tried. You can't just simply take the law into your own hands. Like, for example, that person is a thief or a robber. You can't just take a knife and stab the robber, even though you know that he robs. You need to bring him to the police, and the police will arrest him and will bring him to court. That is how the justice process works. can't just simply make a decision. Oh, that guy is a robber. I'm going to stab him because he's a robber. No, it's not how it works.
By the way, there's actually another hadith that maybe I'll find it later on. So basically, in the hadith, a companion of the Prophet, asked the Prophet that if I find my wife sleeping with someone, what should I do? Then the Prophet said, come to the authorities, right? And then the guy gets angry and he says, no, if I see this, then I will take my sword and I'll chop off the guy's head. And the Prophet said that, so basically he says that not to do that. He basically rebuked him.
Exactly. You can't, there's no such thing as vigilante justice in Islam.
Yeah, vigilante justice is not allowed in Islam.
It only exists, but it only exists in stories about Batman or Superman or Marvel.
By the way, that would be haram. Batman is doing haram.
Yeah, it is haram. Yeah, what Batman doing is actually haram.
Just leave me alone, all right?
But we enjoy watching Batman catching thieves and robbers, right? But what he's doing is actually haram according to Islamic law. Okay.
Religion. He had the mission to kill Salman Rushdie and to be rewarded and respected by his religious leaders and authorities. This has to do with the Ayatollah Khomeini of Iran, who ordered this attack on Salman Rushdie. He wanted Salman Rushdie killed.
Ayatollah Khomeini, of all people.
By the way, you don't have like any of the animation, but if it was on my channel, I would have shown the animation. So basically, this is a red herring. Red herring is a logical fallacy where you say that you bring up topics that has nothing to do with the debate, and then you refute those topics and act as if like somehow this refuted the topic that we're discussing. Like the topic of the discussion is Islam dangerous to the world? Here we know that these guys violated Islamic laws. So if someone, let's say that there's there's like an American who goes and stabs like another a Russian, then is that considered then can you like blame America for this? No. I mean, because he has no connection. It's the same as me saying Islam is guilty for a Muslim drinking alcohol, right? It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. I mean, why would Muslims want to follow whatever Ayatollah Khomeini says? Okay, I mean, the guy has died for like 30 years, over 30 years. That's number one. Secondly, he's a Shia scholar. And the majority of Muslims in this world are Sunnis, and we don't follow anything, what Shia scholar says.
But the issue is that this is, of course, not just about Iran and about Shia Muslims, which is the case here. We have many such incidents where people go around and try to harm and kill individuals who offend Islam, or who offend Muhammad, or who offend the Muslims. We have many more examples. Just recently, a woman was brutally attacked, brutally lynched and killed for allegedly disrespecting Muhammad in Nigeria. A woman called Farkhunda Malikzada was in recent times brutally lynched. The footage is horrible. It can't be shown here for similar honor-related things. Mashal Khan, who was a student in Pakistan, was lynched and brutally killed because he allegedly committed blasphemy and said some things about Islam, like that is not true, for example. Everyone remembers the Charlie Hebdo attacks. People were brutally murdered simply for drawing cartoons. In recent times, even a teacher, Samuel Paty, he was brutally killed in front of the school where he taught, not even for supporting anything, but simply for showing cartoons in order to discuss the subject of freedom of speech. For that act, Samuel Paty in France
can you pause
was brutally...
it a little bit?
So basically, what does any of these incidents
can I share something?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I'll put it on.
Share the screen.
I'll put it on. Yes, go ahead.
So if you go to like Islam QA, they have a fatwa on regarding things like blasphemy and things like.
I think Hisham asked something in the chat. I think this is an apus fan. So.
So, by the way, are you sharing the screen? Can you share the screen?
Yes. Hang on. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So Ibn Mufti al-Halmali, he said the following. May Allah have mercy, he said in Al-Furu 653, it is haram for anyone to carry out had punishment except the ruler or his deputy. This is something on which the fuqaha of Islam are unanimously agreed, as was stated in Al-Masiyah, Al-Fiqh. The fuqaha are unanimously agreed that the one who should carry out hard punishment is the ruler or his deputy. Whether the punishment is transgression, transgressing one of the limits of Allah, may he be exalted, such as zina, transgression against another person, such as slander, etc. So here, this makes it clear that what this guy did, or what these people did, is clearly against Islam. Clearly against Islam.
Definitely.
And he's saying that something that's against Islam proves that they did it because of Islam. Like, again, like I said, that's like me saying a Muslim is committing fornicacy is Islam's fault. That makes no sense.
No sense, right? No sense at all. I mean, so this guy Apus was talking about Samuel Paty, Charlie Hebdo, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and then there's this Nigerian girl being killed. So what does all these incidents have anything whatsoever to do with Islam? These are all isolated incidents which have, which are separate from the.
So
some of them are even
basically what he's doing is he's committing the questionable cause fallacy, which is that just because there's a correlation doesn't mean there's a causation. Yes, there's a correlation between these people being supposedly being Muslim and there's being a crime, but that doesn't mean that Islam is the thing that caused them to commit the crime. You have to be able to prove that. That they did it because of, that's what Islam says. But
exactly.
He didn't prove that.
Beheaded in public for offending Islam. This is a reality, and
the
issue is that this is not something that is simply, that is just happening.
I put it at 1.5, but I can still hear his voice very slowly. Okay, wait, let me try and put it at 2. All right.
It is something that leads back to Muhammad himself. Muhammad, Prophet of Islam, is considered the perfect human to ever walk the.
Okay,
so Islam often use this hadith, right? Ka'b bin Ashraf.
This incident. Ka'b bin Ashraf incident.
There's a great article. I think you wrote an article on it, right? Can you share that?
I wrote a very long article on it. Yes. If I can find it, I will. Okay. Give me a moment. All right. I can share it. Inshallah.
Maybe we can read some of it.
The article. What about the killing of Ka'b ibn al-Ashraf? Okay. Okay, I have a whole article, and guess what? It was written in, look at the date. Look at the date.
2006.
Okay. This was how many years ago? I mean, September 19 is going to be in 9 days' time, right? So it's like how many years? Just do the math. I think more than 10 years, right? More than 20 years. More than 15 years. Yeah. Wow. See? I wrote this more than 15 years ago, and people are still repeating this lie. Okay. Okay. So blah blah blah. Okay. So let's go through all this. Okay. So it's important for me to read this out because it does explain who Ka'b ibn Ashraf is and what did he do to the point that the Prophet ordered his punishment. Okay. So basically Ka'b ibn Ashraf was a Jew. He used to insult Muslims and especially Muslim women. Okay. He had to be later killed by a Muslim through the permission of the Prophet. And this account is present in Sirat Rasulullah by Ibn Ishaq. I have the book somewhere here. Okay. The following is the account in our own words. So I just, basically I just change it into a proper way to explain it. Okay. So the Prophet asked who would get rid of Ka'b ibn Ashraf for him. A Muslim man responded that he would. Sadly, the Muslim who agreed with the Prophet did not eat for 3 days, except for that which was required. When this was informed to the Prophet asked him the reason. The man told him that he had taken a responsibility to kill Ka'b ibn al-Ashraf, which he could not handle. So the Muslim asked the Prophet's permission to tell lies or to deceive Ka'b ibn al-Ashraf. Then the Prophet gave him the permission. The Muslim went to Ka'b ibn al-Ashraf, said something deceptive, and made him come out of his house and then killed him. So the attack raised by anti-Islam people here or Islamophobes here is that the Prophet gave another man to do the job of assassination and gave him
also another just to add one point here. You need to understand the Prophet was the leader of his tribe or leader of that area, and the Jews,
he was the king and the ruler.
The Jews and these other tribes, they had deals with them, and so you cannot just have a deal with a person then insult them, the person that you have a deal with. That is a violation of the treaty. Like I don't. So this situation is completely different than what happened with like someone like Samuel Paty or whatever. But like these people, these Muslims that went there and killed him, they are not leaders. They're not like political authorities. So these two situations is not the same. So basically, what Apus is doing is committing the faulty comparison fallacy. He's trying to compare two different things. He's trying to compare like an apple with like a cell phone. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So basically, what I did in this article is also to explain the context of the situation. So to read further in the article, I wrote here: we must first of all understand the situation of the Muslims was very precarious, even in the aftermath of their victory at Badr. By the way, this took place after Badr. Okay, so this was the first war in Islam, and the Muslims, you know, with an army or a band. I don't know whether you can call it even an army. About 313 people defeated 1,000.
By the way, I also heard that Ka'b bin Ashraf was actually trying to incite people against the Prophet, or even try to kill him, or was planning to.
So this was part of it, right? So okay, to continue the explanation, even though the Quraysh were defeated and had retreated back to the city, the Muslims still faced the danger of internal dissent within the walls of Medina. Okay, and then the Muslims had just expelled the Banu Qainuqa from their homes after their open declaration of war, okay, against the Prophet and the early Muslim community. The Banu Qainuqa were the first of the Jews to break their agreement with the Muslims and go to war, and had to be dealt with swiftly, so as to quash any ideas of the other Jewish tribes to instigate a war against the Muslims, because the Muslims were in a very precarious position. They just won a battle at Badr, but you know, the situation was very precarious. Anyone could take advantage of the situation. Okay, so it was within this context that Ka'b ibn al-Ashraf took advantage of by inveighing against the Prophet and reciting verses bewailing the Quraysh who were slain at Badr. So this guy Ka'b bin al-Ashraf was making a lot of poetry. This would be considered sedition, okay, in modern day terms. Okay, so back in those days, in the Arab during the Arab tribes, in the time of the Prophet, they would do you know, poetry or qasida. Okay, so this is the poetry. Okay, so the poetry goes like this: Badr's meal ground out the blood of his people. At events at Badr, you should weep and cry. The best of the people were slain. Okay, this is referring to the Quraysh, by the way, the pagan Quraysh, not the Muslims. Okay, don't think it's strange that the princes were left lying. How many noble, handsome men, the refugee of the homeless, was slain. Liberal when the stars gave no rain, who bore others' burdens, ruling and taking their due forth. And then some people whose anger pleases me say, Ka'b ibn Ashraf is utterly dejected. They are right. On that, the earth, when they were killed, had split asunder and engulfed its people. That he who spread the report had been thrust through, or lived covering blind and deaf. I was told that all of Banu Mughira is one of the tribes in Mecca, okay, at the time. I was told that all of Banu Mughira were humiliated and brought low by the death of Abdul Hakam. Abdul Hakam, by the way, is Abu Jahl, okay? And the two sons of Rabi'ah with him. And Muwad and Munabih and the others did not attain such honor as those who were slain. Okay. So in this, and then the poem continues, you know, praising the deaths of the Quraysh pagans, who were, by the way, the enemies of the Muslims. And then in the last stanza, in this very last stanza, it also says here, I was told that Al-Harith ibn Hisham is doing well and gathering troops to visit Yathrib, Medina, to visit Yathrib with armies, for only the noble, handsome man protects the loftiest reputation. So it's actually
so basically it's like a war poetry. So in case you guys don't know, there's a context to this. So poetry was actually seen as a type of weapon itself. Like, for example, oftentimes what the tribal Arabs would do is that when they're in the field, they would actually recite poetry with each other. I actually saw like a lecture on, like, I don't know, what is the university professor talking about.
I guess in the modern day time it would be like oration or
we don't have this in modern times. That's the thing. We don't have
in modern times. We have a speech.
But the thing is that, the thing you need to understand is that at that time the Arabs actually put a lot of importance in poetry. So to the point, it almost worked as like a media, right? So basically, this is like propaganda in a way. So basically, what would happen is they would field in a battlefield, and the opposite army would select their poets, and the opposite army would select their poets, and they would have like a battle, like a rap battle, and whoever won that battle would be considered the victor, and the other person would be shamed that they will leave the battlefield. So you need to understand this context before understanding. This isn't just poetry. Okay, you need to understand how the Arabs are seeing this.
Everybody did this, is they would send champions to go fight each other before the battle. But what the Arabs liked to do was first poetry. So they would get their best improv poet, because they would improv right there. They didn't have a poem written in advance. And they would get that poet to shout to the other army a poem. And the belief was that if you shouted a good enough poem, the other side should give you the field and walk away.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say that this is like a rap battle, maybe someone
battle
saying
poem.
this.
Basically, he's riling people up.
Yes,
and this is
exactly,
how it's seen, because poetry is a form of weapon for them.
Exactly. So the worst part of this poetry, this very long poetry, is that Ka'b bin Ashraf actually made several verses deriding the Muslim women, okay, in Medina, and he insulted this woman by the name al-Fadl binti al-Harith. Okay, so the verses go: "Are you off without stopping in the valley and leaving al-Fadl in Makkah? Out would come what she had brought forth from the peddler of bottles, henna and haidar. What lies twixt ankle and elbow in motion when she tries to stand and does not." Okay, so this particular phrase here, "what lies twixt ankle and elbow in motion when she tries to stand and does not," is explained in the footnote of Ibn Ishaq Sirat Rasulullah. So the footnote says, presumably her buttocks are mentioned, because they would be between her ankle and her elbows as she reclined. Large and heavy buttocks were the marks of female beauty among the old Arabs. So he's actually insulting, he's talking about the buttocks of a woman, okay, which, by the way, in Islam is a big no-no. Okay, So this was the reason. So this is the context as to why.
By the way, if the Muslims did something similar, things would be way worse than this. Okay,
exactly.
Like for example, you need to understand that when the Quranic verses was revealed, that's the reason he was expelled. So both parties were doing the same thing. So the treaty was that you don't do that, because that's the reason they literally left their home for, and you're doing the same thing again. So why would a leader allow that? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Because he wants his community to be safe, right? Any leader with a common sense would want that. So, on top of it, he's committing treason. He's violating the treaty, and so he was punished.
Actually, in the next section of my article, I actually mentioned one part of the Medina Covenant, which was signed between the Muslims and the Jews, on which particular clause that Ka'b ibn Ashraf violated the treaty. Okay, so if you read, I mean, it's quite long to read it. So anyone can just go to this article, right?
Can you read the important part?
Let me see now. It says here, loyalty is a protection against treachery. The close friends are as themselves. None of them shall go out to war save with the permission of Muhammad, but he shall not be prevented from taking revenge for a wound. He who slays a man without warning slays himself and his whole household, unless it is one who has wronged him, for God will accept that. Okay, the Jews must bear their expenses and the Muslims their expenses. Blah blah blah. Okay, a woman shall only be given protection with the consent of family. If any dispute or controversy likely to cause trouble should arise, it must be referred to God and to Muhammad, the apostle of God. Okay, so this whole passage actually says that anyone who goes against the Prophet or goes against the Muslims, is considered to be treachery if you go against these two. All right. So and then
this is understandable. This is the same thing in international laws. Like, for example,
exactly.
When you have treaty between different countries, you have certain things that you're not allowed to do. That's how treaties work.
Exactly. So I have this quote here from Akram Dia Al-Umari. He wrote this book called The Meccan Crucible, right? And the Medina and the sunset in Medina. So this guy, this scholar Akram Dia Al-Umari made a comment regarding the.
By the way, just to clarify, just one thing to clarify.
Yeah.
In atheism, none of this is wrong.
Good point. Good point. None of this is wrong in atheism. In atheism, it's absolutely fine because there's no laws. What are the standards for conducting
and even in liberalism, this is completely fine. It is completely consistent with liberalism. I mean, look at what happened with Snowden, or you brought up this point before, and also you cannot Snowden, talk about
I did bring it up.
HOLOCAUST, people who deny it, they're they're actually put to jail.
Not just Snowden, but Julian Assange. Assange. Look at what happened to him.
Not just them. Like if you like, I mentioned this before. There's actually a law in the UK where you cannot refuse to give jobs to someone based on their gender. Which is a violation of free speech, because you're limiting how people express themselves, right?
Exactly.
Which is under free speech.
So
so they're fine. So they are allowed to limit people's free speech, but Muslims aren't allowed to do that.
So anyway, I want to read this. I want to read out this passage from Akram Diyal Umari, because he made it on point. Okay, so I'll read this passage. Okay, so the killing of Ibn al-Ashraf might be seen as an act of treachery, but on further reflection, one realizes that Ibn al-Ashraf was party to the treaty, according to the document by which the Jews of Banu an-Nadir and others were committed, by slandering the Prophet, and this is very important, by slandering the Prophet who was head of state, and by showing his sympathy for the enemies of the Muslims, lamenting their dead and inciting them against the Muslims, as I have read out the poetry earlier, right? Ibn al-Ashraf had broken the treaty and declared war on the Muslims, and his blood could be shed with impunity. As for his being deceived and killed by those he had trusted, such action is legally permissible in the case of those who have declared war on the Muslims. And it was carried out by the order of the messenger. Why is legal? Because the messenger, the Prophet ﷺ, was the Amir. Okay, he's the leader. Okay. The messenger, however, did not blame Banu an-Nadir for Ibn al-Ashraf's crime. It was sufficient to have him killed for his treachery. The Prophet, in fact, renewed his treaty with them. So it's clear that only Ka'b Ibn al-Ashraf was singled out for his treachery, and he was killed because of that, because he made those disgusting poetry against the Muslims.
And the thing is that you need to understand, like I said before, poetry was a tool of weapon. It was a tool of war. And as I said, at that time, war poetry was considered a way you fight your opponent or fight your
I was just going to say about this, because I have a passage here in this very same article about Arabic poetry. Okay, so I wrote here, Arabic poetry is a priori very influential and cannot be thought of in the terms of English poetry or any other forms of poetry in other languages.
Exactly.
And then as Philip K. Hitti himself notes, Philip K. Hitti, by the way, is an Arab historian. Okay, no people in the world perhaps manifest such enthusiastic admiration for literary expression and are so moved by the word, spoken or written, as the Arabs. Hardly any language seems capable of exercising over the minds of its users such irresistible influence as Arabic. Okay, so there you go. See, my article actually covers most of the points. It's amazing that my article written 15 years ago actually refused this guy. Some 15 years in 2022.
Yeah, I think we destroyed his point already. Let's just continue.
Which is that Islam has a book which is supposedly authored by the Almighty Allah, who knows everything, and the commands in that book are valid for all times. And Muhammad is supposed to be the perfect messenger for all times. Everyone is supposed to imitate him and follow him and glorify him, do whatever he does, do whatever he says, and abstain from whatever he tells you to abstain. Muhammad was a prophet who had a mob with him and who commanded the killing of people who hurt him. In this quote, he says, "Who is willing to kill Ka'b ibn Ashraf, who has hurt
Allah?" Just refuted this.
Don't ask me how you can hurt the Almighty Allah. What is being said here is obviously that
so what?
Was caused, which is
in your worldview, that's not a crime.
Which was, of course, done later.
Why is that morally
when it comes
wrong?
to more incidents or examples of Muhammad ordering such killings, I'm not sure if you can do you see this right now, the website. Okay. So Muhammad was very explicit in his mission. He said, for example, I have been commanded to fight against the people till they testify that there is no God but Allah. And that Muhammad
nothing to do whatsoever with what happened to Ka'b ibn Ashraf.
To not be peaceful, not spread peace, not say, hey, let's not fight, let's spread a beautiful belief, a beautiful system. No, he came with the explicit intention to fight and to convert people. He was somebody who prophesied. In fact, this is a prophecy that is very well known throughout the Muslim world. He said,
can you pause?
Yeah, he's talking.
So
he's
he
about
started a lot of nonsense there. One point
that a lot of nonsense.
I want to clarify, which is that he said something along the line of, that I came here to fight people. Yeah, so what? Like what? What does he mean by fighting exactly? Is he talking about killing anyone?
No, he seems that is why during the debate I actually mentioned this. I said that fighting doesn't mean enforcing the peace with violence doesn't make it wrong. Doesn't make the violence wrong, right? It doesn't mean that violence is wrong, and I mean, you can't expect
for example, if I
right?
Sure. For example, if I say that I'm fighting to protect like I'm fighting to protect my child, right, in a court of custody, in the court, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that a bad thing? Or if I say that I'm in a UFC ring and I'm fighting my opponent, is that a bad thing? No, you're supposed to fight fight people.
Or let's say let's say you are
right.
So let's say you are a
supposed to
soldier.
fight in in the boxing ring, right?
Like for
So
example,
it depends
let's say
on the context of the word, right? So here, when the Prophet is talking about fighting, he's talking about people who are constantly oppressing him, oppressing his followers, killing his followers, and just sometimes literally starving them. So that's what he's talking about. So what do you mean? And also, he's talking about people who reject God's messengers, who have repeatedly come and warned them, and they refuse to acknowledge their Creator. And on top of it, they're oppressing their followers. That's who he's talking about fighting. He's not talking about fighting like innocent people. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it clear that, he didn't, I think it's 68 or something, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it clear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not tell you to, move away from, to not be nice to disbelievers who did not kick you out of your home. He makes it clear. So clearly he's not talking about that. He's talking about fighting people who are actively opposing, and oppressing his people.
Okay, yeah. So that's right. So as I was saying that, let's say in the context of war, you are a soldier fighting for your country, and then you want to, let's say, Bangladesh is fighting against maybe, I don't know, maybe China, for example. Maybe China wants to invade Bangladesh, and then you say that, I want to make war against
China already invaded Bangladesh.
No, I'm just giving an example, right? Okay, so I'm talking about literal war. So maybe China is invading Bangladesh, and then you say, I want to make war against China to protect my family. Is that wrong? Is that considered to be wrong? Is that illegal? Is that immoral for want to defend your country? You see? So that's the point. You see, it's the same thing with Malaysia.
How about this? What if tomorrow America says, we want to wage war against North Korea? Like, is anyone going to object to that? Is anyone going to think that that's wrong or bad?
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. You see?
It depends on the context.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's debate about the context. That's fine, but you can't just say that. Simply him saying, I'm going to fight certain people itself is bad. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and if you look at the screenshot, right now in the video, he's quoting the hadith regarding the Jews, right? In the future, where the Prophet said that the hour will not be established until you fight with the Jews, and the stones behind the Jew will be hiding, and say, "Oh Muslims, there's a Jew behind me, so kill him." What's wrong with this?
Which Jew is he talking about?
Yeah. No. This hadith is talking about the future. It's talking about the hour, right?
By the way, there's a commentary on this hadith. Okay, this is specifically talking about the followers of Ad-Dajjal, I think.
Yes.
And I've seen this commentary, so it's not talking about every Jew out there.
Yeah, exactly. So
the hour will not be established until you fight the Jews, and the stone behind which a Jew will be hiding will say, "Oh Muslim, there's a Jew behind me, so kill him." Muslims globally know this. This is Muhammad's prophecy. He says that the hour will not be established until this happens. So this
it's a prophecy.
Muslims must fight the Jews.
It's a prophecy.
And even the rocks and stones will say, "There's a Jew behind me."
In the Quran, there are many verses about the Jews and how Jews should be treated.
Yeah, it's a prophecy, and yes,
by I think who is it by? Regarding how to treat dhimmis. What's the point of dhimmis if we are supposed to fight Jews?
It's not that Islam is telling us to go and hunt every single Jew and kill them, right? Doesn't make any sense, right? Al-Andalus would not have happened if that were the case, you see.
By the way, this scumbag knows this. This scumbag knows this. He has made this point over and over again in his debate against Brother Daniel, that even he made a video with the other psychopath, where he's talking about, he put a video of Sheikh Asim al-Hakim, where he's talking about Zizya. So he acknowledges that, Zizya is an option. Then why is he saying that we're supposed to fight Jews?
I know, guys.
Muhammad also famously said that whoever changes his Islamic religion should be killed. Islam has an apostasy law that is very widely known, which Muslim scholars...
Yeah, so does the Bible. If you read Deuteronomy 13, the Bible has this as well. Okay, so basically this Arabic verse of the Arabic sentence of this, whoever changes Islamic his religion, then kill him, is basically man baddala dinnahu faqtulhu. So this is a hadith. This is a hadith from Bukhari.
Yeah, why would he want people to go to the hellfire? Why would anyone want people to go to the hellfire, or make ways so people can't do that? So that's the first point. And second point is, from like a leadership position, if someone like all of a sudden leaves the religion, they're violating the contract. They have to, especially if you live in a theocratic state, that's violation of the contract. You're no longer obeying the contract, because then like for example, because in Islam, like if there's like a jihad situation, Muslim armies have to fight. Like if every able-bodied Muslim man have to fight, there can be situations like that. And so in that case, they can just simply say, oh, I don't believe in Islam anymore. So they don't have to be soldiers. In that case, you could literally lose the war, which could jeopardize your nation. So these laws makes perfect sense if you think about from a geopolitical and a theocratic point of view and geopolitical point of view, because no one would allow desertions like that. And even in America, like you can't desert the army, like you're gonna get killed for that. Especially in in the Constitution of the U.S., they have like laws regarding treason. So this is not anything special. You guys have these same laws. So what's the issue here?
Islamic schools have established and follows. People like me who leave Islam are supposed to be killed according to the Islamic religion and jurisprudence. Now, okay. Of course, Muhammad's words are not the only problem here. When it comes to the Quran, we can also find in Quran chapter 9, verse 29, which is one of my favorite Quran verses to be all.
Yeah, Surah At-Tawbah. Okay. Okay. While I'm playing this, I'm going to pull up the article regarding Surah At-Tawbah. I have it on my website.
Honest, that the Quran commands the following: fight against those who do not believe in Allah or in the last day, and who do not consider unlawful what Allah and His Messenger have made unlawful, and who do not adopt the religion of truth, Islam, from those who were given the scripture. So those who don't believe in Allah, in the last day, in Muhammad, and those among the people of the scripture, meaning the Christians and Jews who don't adopt Islam, are supposed to be fought according to the Quran until they give the jizya, which is an Islamic concept, which is basically protection money. You subjugate the opponents.
Yeah, when you don't have treaty, when you don't have treaty, no country, all countries consider when you don't have a treaty. Of course, in that case, and also like he's talking about context of warfare. The fight against those who do not believe. Who is he talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so basically, he's taking things out of context. This is what they do. Like, this is nothing surprising. Like for example,
I have an old article. I found an article here regarding jizya in Islam on my website. Yeah. So anyway, you were saying, continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like, show me which country in the world is like okay with like another country that that they don't have treaty with, that they're like becoming aggressive towards them, and that they're just fine with it. Like no country in the world would be okay with that, and especially back in the day, invading another country was completely normal, because you have to understand this from a historical perspective. Like if you're in a country that doesn't have like any kind of strong border, you're just like a small tribe. Of course, you're gonna talk about like fighting people who you don't have treaty with, and because those people either is going to attack you or they're gonna make a treaty with you. If they don't make a treaty with you, you have to expect that you're gonna get attacked anytime.
Exactly.
And that's the reality back then. So
because back then we don't have the concept of nation state, so there was no such thing as Bangladesh, there was no such thing as India, there was no such thing as Pakistan, there was no such thing as Malaysia, there was no such thing as the United States, there was no such thing as United Kingdom. Everyone were conquering each other. Okay, so basically each empire was expanding their borders for as far as
like for example, imagine like you're like a small tribe, and you have the Mongols like camping like 100 miles from now. Like, are you seriously gonna and you try to make peace with them, but they don't respond? Do you honestly think they're going to stay there and not do anything?
Exactly.
Not gonna invade your land?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
We have Myanmar on the border of us, right? And Myanmar constantly aggressing towards our sea. Like you see this. There's even a little like war that happened regarding the Naf River that I think I told you about. And these things happen. Like border is very fickle thing. Like for example, and back then they didn't even have the concept of border, so people didn't have any security. So if the Quran is talking about fighting against those who do not believe, it's in the context of that. Okay, it's talking about in the context of no like a treaty, no border state.
No borders. Exactly.
And it's talking about the safety of the Muslims and the safety of dhimmis. Or people, non-Muslims who live in the Muslim state. It's not just talking about only Muslims. Because the Prophet was leader of both Muslims and non-Muslims. He's talking about from a state perspective. This is a political like ruling.
Exactly. And also you have to keep in mind that Surah At-Tawbah was revealed right before, I think, sorry, not right. Yeah, right after the pagans of Quraysh, the pagan Quraysh of Makkah, betrayed the Muslims or
Yeah.
broke the treaty, broke
Yeah,
the truce at Hudaybiyah.
Exactly.
So this is one of the reasons why Surah At-Tawbah was revealed. And you also need to consider that this is also specific against the Quraysh of Mecca. So basically, the whole surah is instructing.
By the way,
the
I have a
Prophet to
video
go
on my
against
channel on David Wood
yeah.
and the verse 929.
Yeah.
If you guys want to see it, it's like an hour-long explanation and
Yeah.
refutation of that psychopath. So if you guys want to check that out, you can check that out.
Yeah.
Citizens in your empire, and if they don't pay that, then they are basically fair game. It says, until they give the jizya while they are humbled. It was always known in Islamic history that this is not merely a tax but protection money imposed on the disbelievers to humiliate
to
them
get to the
and
main
use them as
point,
subjects.
just to pause for a bit. And the main point here, none of this makes Islam any more dangerous than any other political ideology or any other religion in the world. Okay, it's because the point is saying is that Islam is dangerous. That these things have place in your own country's constitution, your own laws. Like the U.S. violated a bunch of international laws, and conquered Iraq, conquered Afghanistan. They placed sanction on Russia now. Russian citizens are in trouble, or wherever they go to a different country. So they're doing this, and he's fine with it. But somehow, if Islam does something or has commandments that is similar, he has an issue.
Not equal to Muslims who just pay taxes. The Quran further very often describes disbelievers in extremely dehumanizing and insulting ways. For example, of course, a Muslim apologist would come and say, "Oh, this is just descriptive," but it says that Allah created for hell many of the humans and the jinn, which are mythical beings that don't exist. And it further says that they are like livestock. Rather, they are.
If this is the case, that people will go to the hellfire, and there are people who will reject it not based on logic, based on their own arrogance, then if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that these people will go to the hellfire, then why is that wrong? He's just stating facts.
Yeah. Because he knows he's the all. I mean, we Muslims believe that God is all powerful, all knowing. So
the point here is that if Islam is true, then these are factual statements. Like, for example, I don't like the fact that the earth constantly pulls me down, but me saying that gravity exists shouldn't insult me, though. Like, whereas I know that gravity exists, but how is that insulting? Like, it's just a statement of fact.
No, it's ridiculous. I mean,
that those who disbelieve among the people of the scripture, being Jews and Christians, and the polytheists will be in hell forever. Those are the worst of creatures. It says the similar things in other verses as well. It repeatedly describes the disbelievers, those who don't believe in Islam, as basically lowly creatures, which deserve no dignification. This is what.
Yeah. So
what does he want? Does he want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to praise people who betrayed him?
Yeah, I mean, why would God, in His infinite wisdom and mercy, want to love those who disbelieve in Him? Okay, I mean, of course,
no, not to disbelieve. They betrayed him because He's constantly taking care of them, right?
Yeah, basically,
the reason that people like apus can insult Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is because He's allowing that to happen. So He's constantly taking care of him, and you're insulting him, you're disbelieving him, you're betraying him, and then you're saying that He's supposed to love you and care for you. That's not. That's not just. Of course, He's not gonna do that.
Island for.
By the way, he's talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala criticizing disbelievers. He also criticizes Muslims. He criticizes Muslims. He even criticizes the Prophet. He criticizes the Prophet.
Yes.
He also criticizes hypocrites. Like he criticizes everybody in the Quran.
So basically he's the worst of creatures. He's just admitted himself. He is the worst of creatures. The Quran is right. Okay, apus is the worst of creatures. Okay?
So we talked about the recent incident with Salman Rushdie, where a religious Muslim tried to kill him and did not succeed. This is not something that happens across the religious globe. It is something that is unique to Islam. It is only Islam which constantly and repeatedly sends shockwaves throughout the world by taking lives and attacking people in public. For example, a very simple.
Attacking people in
this
public.
Is special pleading. Where does it say that only Islam is the thing that does that? Like, have you ever heard of any kind of Tamil or Indian terrorists? In India, they're literally lynching Muslims. They're literally lynching Muslims in India.
Yes.
Then in the Chinese, in China, Uyghur Muslims are being put in concentration camps. Like, they're all doing this for their own ideology, and you're saying that Islam is the only religion that. What are you talking about? These incidents have nothing to do with Islam in the first place. So basically, he's doing first of all, he's committing the questionable cause fallacy, which is obviously fallacious. And then he's committing the red herring fallacy. He's bringing up examples that has nothing to do with Islam. And now he's saying that, oh, babe, Islam is just violent, and ignoring his own ideology and other ideologies in the world, which does this exact same thing he accuses Islam of. And then he's trying to misrepresent Islam by cherry picking quotes. So this guy's just committing fallacies after fallacies.
Yes.
So I don't know how people take this guy seriously.
The only reason why people are taking him seriously is because he claims to be an ex-Muslim who claims to have a very high knowledge of Islam. That's all. That is his only claim to fame. Okay. And then he's talking shit about Islam, and he's using certain arguments which Christians themselves use to attack Islam with. Okay.
Challenge. I know some people will come and say, but what about the, I don't know, what happened in Spain in the 15th century? Well, here's a very simple challenge. Give me one example in today's time of somebody being attacked brutally with the intention to kill, or somebody being killed because they offended a different religion other than Islam, and Muslims throughout and those people throughout their religious group actually celebrated it. You cannot find a single example. In the case of Salman Rushdie, for example, Salman Rushdie was attacked with the intention of killing him, and this is justified and celebrated or excused by Muslims across the world. If you want to pull up the public opinion on this.
Why does he assume that the killing of Salman Rushdie is celebrated? Yeah.
I have a very interesting article that I want to show.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So there's this website. It's called Vedkabet. It's run by brother Salam Rizvi. So he basically writes a lot of articles criticizing Hinduism. He actually made a article, and I want to share it. Is it okay?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So basically, he collected all the hate comments by Hindus, Hindu Bhakts against Muslims. Okay. So let's read some of them. And see if this is true, that that Islam or Muslim are the only people that kind of like does this or whatever. Right?
I wish I could have read this during the debate, but you know,
this
what
is a very long article. It brings a lot of examples.
Yeah, I didn't know what this article, you know.
Yeah, hold on, let me just find some of the tweets that he goes
maybe
through.
Maybe you can read some of it.
Oh my god. Okay, Hindus literally calling for the massacre of Muslims. All right. So let's read some of these tweets. I am against violence. This is a Hindu saying this. I am against violence, but kabhi kabhi sochti hu Modi ji ne फिर से 2002 के nahi kya. But do you know what she's referring to? Is the Gujarat massacre. 2002 Gujarat massacre was a massacre that where a lot of Hindu mob went against Muslims.
Yes, I know about Gujarat. I know about the Gujarati massacre. Yes.
They were absolutely really horrifying. Details of stories. If you just search on the internet, you will see this. Muslims were massacred.
Hundreds of Muslims were killed on the train. In Gujarat. Yeah, I know.
So she's literally saying, why doesn't Modi does the same thing again? And Modi was behind this, by the way.
Yeah, Modi was the governor of that region, right? Yeah, he was the leader. He was the governor of Gujarat, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. Yeah.
So this massacre happened under his watch. He riled the people up.
Yes.
And she's saying that why doesn't the same thing? Why doesn't Modi does the same thing again? This is a Hindu saying.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Now, this Hinduism. Something else. Then here we have a comment. I think it says that
this interesting stuff.
Well said. So I think this is like Hindus in Bengal should be responded like they did in Gujarat, BJP. So another BJP like a minister, he said that Hindus in Bengal, which is in Bangladesh, by the way, Hindus in Bangladesh should respond just like they did in Gujarat. Again, referring to the Gujarat massacre, meaning in Bangladesh, they should do the same massacre that they did in Gujarat. Okay?
My God.
This is what they're saying. They're literally saying this. And then people are agreeing. Many Hindus are agreeing. By the way, I just want to clarify. I'm not saying that all Hindus are like this. These are obviously Bhakts. Bhakts are a very specific type of kind of like fascist ideology, which they believe that they're kind of like Hindu race or whatever is superior.
Yeah.
And
I don't claim to know anything about Hinduism, nor do I care. Yeah, I don't care about Hinduism anyway.
So basically, these are the people that I'm talking about. But there's a lot of them. Okay.
Yeah.
And then this woman is saying, well said, sword for sword, fire for fire is the only answer to fight with the wicked katwas. Katwas, by the it's an insult for like Muslims, I think, because like we circumcise or something. So Twitter handles followed by Modi advocate violence against Muslims.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a lot of like comments like this. If you leak some of it. Here it says
actually, you don't even need to go. You don't even need to go this far. You can just go to any of Apus's videos. Just look at the ones which talk about Muslims, and then you go to the comments and you read the comments. Just read the comments. You have a handful of this. Yeah.
So here, this is talking about Rohingyas who escaped from like Myanmar. And here, this is what they're saying. Yogi Modi, kill them once and for all.
My God. Yeah.
Don't get flooded in India and change its demography. We don't want Bengal and Kerala to be another Bangladesh. By the way, this isn't just the case of that, like they're insulting Muslims. They're also insulting like people of other nations. And they do this all the time. Like, does Apus never heard of like white nationalists? Does he ever heard of like Nazis in his own country? These people live in their own country. And these people openly advocate that, black people should be removed from the country. And all these other kind of people should be removed from the country. Like, is he blind? Like, so basically, he's doing a special pleading fallacy. He's making a special case for Muslims or some other people who say that they're Muslims, and saying that these they're the only people that does this. No, clearly not.
Definitely not. Okay. So that's all, I think.
There's a lot more comments where here this scumbag is saying they didn't want to respect the Myanmar. They didn't want to sing the national anthem. They did not want Buddhist temple to rebuild the localization. So he's basically justifying the genocide, the ethnic cleansing that is happening. They're okay with it. They're cheering it on.
Yes,
they're literally cheering it on. Then there's a video of Hindu extremists attacking a masjid or a mosque, and here in the comment it says, "Well done, Hindus. Well done. I'm in Canada." I think this is a white nationalist actually. This may not be a Hindu. I'm in Canada, and I will provide RPGs to fuck Islamato, the core, kill all Muslims from India.
Yeah, that's right.
How nice. How nice. So, and he says,
amazing.
Says,
amazing logic
this doesn't exist.
Amazing.
Only Muslims.
Amazing logic there. All right. So, these Hindus, they have a very weird sense of logic. Right?
See that Muslims justify it, refuse to condemn it, and most Muslims on social media will end up celebrating it. You cannot find an example of such a thing anywhere across religions. It simply does not exist. Yes, you may find some oppression that happened 500 years ago in Europe. You might find other things that happened 2,000 years ago, human sacrifice, whatever it is. We're talking about right now. Is Islam dangerous right now?
Yes, okay.
Sorry?
So he's saying that Muslims are celebrating it, or like they're not condemning it, or something along that line. First of all, why would Muslims need to say anything in this regard? Clearly, this guy is violating Islamic law. This is clear. You can ask any of the scholars. And of course, we condemn this guy. Like, we obviously condemn this because he's doing something that's against Islam.
Yeah, I mean,
and
the guy is doing something un-Islamic. Of course, we condemn him. We're condemning him. It has nothing whatsoever to do with Islam.
So
it's simple.
What point is he trying to make?
I don't know.
That's the only religion which causes these problems over and over and over again. Other religions simply don't. And as you can see,
we just showed that
because Muslims just misunderstand their religion or something.
Pause.
No, I was just saying that we just showed that's false. All political philosophy, all religious people have extremists. And if you want to see that, go to ask any of the Rohingyas that escaped from the country. Ask any of the Uyghurs that escaped from the country. Or any of the survivors of the 2002 Gujarat massacre. Ask them. Ask them and they'll tell you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Somehow affected by circumstances that have nothing to do with their religion. No, Muslims directly take these motivations to kill and to harm from their religion, which dehumanizes the disbelievers and which commands to fight the disbelievers until they are humiliated, until they are subjugated. There are so many more examples that we can go into, such as that Muhammad asked his loyal followers to go and destroy temples. The Durhana temple, for example, Muhammad famously said, "Who will rid me of this temple?" And then one of his loyal minions went and destroyed it and killed whoever was there. Muhammad actually applauded that and said, "May Allah bless you and your tribe." Muhammad had rough guys with him like Umar who threatened to kill a child.
Yeah.
So I think what he's referring to is like Dil Khalsa or something. So there's like a temple called Dil Khalsa or something, and the Prophet sent certain people there. And then the temple was destroyed, and all the like pagan temples were destroyed. Yeah, of course he did that. That's because God commanded him to do it. So because he won the battle, of course, like he's the leader, he can do that. Like, what's the issue? Like, for example, isn't it the case that in America they're destroying like a lot of like statues of like founding father that they think are racist? Isn't that like happening? So why is that okay? Why is that okay?
Exactly. Yeah, why is that okay?
Like,
right? Yeah. So
I mean, in Africa, like they're like destroying a lot of temples. Even Gandhi, they supposedly want to destroy or remove the statue of Gandhi because they think that Gandhi was like a racist. So why is that okay? Like, the thing is that, of course, like the government that is in power gets to decide what type of things gets built. It's their right. And if they have a battle with another tribe and they won their battle, and and then they, of course, then they have the right to destroy temples if they want to, because they have won the battle. That's what happens in war.
Yes. I mean, well, the victor, to the spoils goes the victor. Is it that simple, right? Even Jesus himself, if Jesus had won any wars against the pagans, against the people, those who the idolaters of his time, he would do the same thing.
You know what?
If
Isa Salam was here, he would be fighting with the Prophet.
Yes, exactly.
Fully supporting and fighting with the Prophet.
If you read Revelations, the book of Revelations again, you will see that Jesus will come down as a just king and with a flaming sword and destroy all those who oppose him. This is in the Revelations. Okay? See, so these Christians,
also another thing. Doesn't the Bible? What does the Bible say about idolatry? Didn't the Christian destroy a bunch of statues and idols that existed? So Christians did the same thing, and Muslims are doing the same thing.
Jews did the same thing. Christians do the same thing. Muslims do the same.
Hindus, by the way, funny story. Hindus also did the same thing.
Okay.
Like against, like for example, in India. So, for example, a temple would be seen as like this power symbol of the other king.
Okay.
So oftentimes, what would happen is that they would go over there and destroy those temples, and and so this is normal. Even like if you look at Greek, temples, they would do that. They would go and destroy that. I mean, if you look at what America did to Syria, look at the towns. This happens. This is normal. Like in warfare, buildings sometimes get destroyed.
Muhammad did not refuse by saying, no, we don't do that. He simply said, there's no reason to do it right now. So this is Islam. Islam is clear as day dangerous. I'm an apostate. I have a death sentence. I'm supposed to die under the Muslim apologist's perfect worldview in his Islamic nation. So I don't know that if there's anything else more to say to this. Thank you.
You got to thank you very much for that opening statement. And folks, want to let you know, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, we already live.
So basically, he says that his whole point is Islam is dangerous because if there's a violation of treaty and you punish those traitors, that's dangerous. And if there's a I don't know, like a war, and you destroy buildings in war, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
And then he's saying
basically, we can sum up like this.
I'm trying to understand his argument, right?
Yeah.
And then he's saying that if there's a treaty between different tribes, and one of those tribes violate that treaty, then punishing their leader, or like their tribes people, then that's dangerous. Like, how are any of these things dangerous? These are normal political things. These are completely normal geopolitical things. None of this is dangerous.
Exactly. Yeah,
this is well accepted in the world of politics, especially in the world of geopolitics. I mean, if you look at for example, a lot of Muslim speakers get banned from universities because they're supposedly too extreme, and their country allows that. Like, for example, even in France, they cannot the French imams have to literally sign a document, and they cannot say certain things. And so which part of this is dangerous? I don't understand. So you're saying that you guys are allowed to do this, but Muslims are not allowed to do this. So again, the point here is that everything he's talking about from a moral point of view, none of these are things that he should have an issue with, because these are normal things that exist in all political spectrums. He's only taking issue because it's the religion that he left.
Because it involves Islam. Because if other religions do this, it's absolutely fine. But if Islam does this, then it's wrong, evil, immoral, dangerous, whatever it is. Yeah.
So basically he's doing a special pleading fallacy. It's a logical fallacy where you make a special case for something without any logical reasoning.
Yes. When I heard, when I was sitting there, I was listening throughout the apus's opening statement. I just realized that I over prepared, because basically all I heard was Salman Rushdie, some random murders of people in Afghanistan, Nigeria, etc. The Prophet saying that he will make war against the disbelievers. The killing of Ka'ab bin al-Ashraf, and then Samuel Paty, and then Charlie Hebdo, and then just random things, and then the Jews hiding behind rocks when the hour arrives. Basically a prophecy in the future. And I was telling myself, I think I over prepared, because if these are the things that he's going to talk about, then I don't even have to talk about what I did in my opening statement.
So all he did was like bring up.
Yeah.
So all he did is like
basically,
bring up irrelevant points, red herrings, non sequiturs. Like none of these things are related to Islamic teachings. These are
Nothing
things
at
that
all.
Islam talks about in terms of fiqh, in terms of jurisprudence, in terms of legal matters, political matters, and of course, political areas are extremely complex. So sometimes you will have rulings that on the surface level may not make sense, but if you understand about historical and political context, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
So,
Brother Elias sum it up very well. So basically, this Apostle's argument in a nutshell: Islam wants to destroy all bad and evil things in the world and promote goodness, this and that. That is why Islam is bad. I had to agree with that. I think that is basically his whole argument. Okay, that is why Islam is dangerous. Okay, so Islam, just because Islam goes against evil, that means doesn't mean that Islam is dangerous.
Paganism and and oppression.
Exactly.
Trying to protect religious freedom. But a lot of the things that Prophet was doing was to protect religious freedom. I find it really funny that these people don't see that, because I think there's this idea in the West.
Oh yeah, let's not forget he talks about jizya a lot. Jizya, right? He makes it out as though jizya is something very evil, and when jizya is just a tax. Okay, I mean until today, everyone is paying income tax. Okay, so what's wrong with paying income tax to the state? Tell me what's wrong in that. Okay, so anyway, so basically the next part of this debate will be with my opening statement will be what I touch upon is actually about the maqasid, what we call the maqasid ash-sharia. Okay, so the objectives of the sharia after its implementation. So that's why I said I over prepared, because if I known that Apostle's argument was going to be about Samuel Petty, Salman Rushdie, blah blah blah, then I wouldn't even have the need to be talking about maqasid, because maqasid kinds of like it's quite academic and it covers a lot of things. So let's play this.
Debate channel, neutral, hosting debates on science, religion, and politics.
Yeah, sorry.
You know what? If he was like a competitive debater, he would actually bring up points that Islam promotes that goes against the liberal interest. Like things like sodomy, right? For example, Islam does say that sodomy is not allowed. He could have said that well, if Islam is not allowed, that it could be like a danger for us and whatever, right?
Exactly.
So he could argue for that point, and we could say actually sodomy is dangerous, so it wouldn't be any better. But at least he would have made a point.
Yes,
at least it wouldn't be some kind of red herring that has nothing to do with Islam, or talking about Samuel Petty or all these other incidents, or talking about historical context and fighting between different nations and tribes, which is completely normal in the context of warfare. So at least that point would have made sense, because that would be like some kind of current issue. But he's just talking about nonsense. This guy's an idiot.
So the topic today is Islam dangerous to the world? We must first understand what the word dangerous entails. The police shooting a criminal who is about to kill women and children is a dangerous act. This, however, does not mean that it is bad or immoral. Violence and dangerous actions can be used to establish the greater good with a wise purpose or hikmah. To also imply that 1.6 billion people around the world are dangerous or have the tendency to be dangerous is a gross misrepresentation of the faith, redundant, and is clearly Islamophobia. We must
see with this particular paragraph that I said here, I pretty much refuted most of his opening, right? Do you realize that I actually refuted most of his opening by saying that? Yeah, brother, you still there?
Yeah. I mean, I think like basically he's saying that all these like irrelevant points, and that is like Islamophobic. There's no. Like,
I clearly refuted him in the opening statement. Okay, so by the way, I'm going to continue playing. So if there's any part of the opening statement which you want me to pause, you let me know, right?
Sure.
Okay, all right. So I'll continue.
Also be clear that the goal of Islam is to lead all of mankind towards Islamic peace, or Pax Islamica. Muslims are taught to always adhere to the middle path, or wasatiyah. This is characterized neither by liberal nor radical religious thought, but through the promotion of tolerance, balance, equality, consensus, reformism, and in short, the summum bonum of all things that take the middle path to materialize as the Khairul Ummah, or the best of people. In order for these things to be achieved, it is recognized that the Islamic ethos, or the Watan Sha'um, the primary objective of the implementation of Islam is the realization of its benefit of maslahah to mankind, which concerns their affairs both in this world and in the hereafter. So this framework of objectives, which are based on benefit, maslahah, or the wise purpose, hikmah, is known as the Maqasid al-Sharia, or the objectives of Islamic law after its implementation.
By the way,
In
can you
French, it's known
pause?
as finalité in German.
Yep.
Okay, so I like the fact
So
that you actually mentioned the purpose of Sharia, right? Because this is
maslahah,
important because apus basically is trying to get at all the kind of like all these rulings. But if you understand what the actual purpose of those rulings are, you cannot say these are dangerous because it's for the greater good, right?
Exactly.
It's to protect family, it's to protect your faith, it's to protect your all this other thing. Here, just by saying that, you refuted his whole nonsense, his whole argument.
Thing. I with just one paragraph, I just refuted every single thing he said earlier.
Yeah, and that's the point. Like, you have to look at the purpose of these laws. Like, what is the purpose exactly? Because if it is the case that the purpose is to serve a greater good, then that's completely justified. Then none of this is dangerous. If it serves for the greater good, if it leads more people to the paradise, if it leads more people to live a more fulfilling and happy life, if it protects family, if it protects faith and all these other kind of stuff, or if it even protects economy, right? Yeah. So if it does all of these things, then you cannot say Islam is dangerous. You have to say Islam is actually beneficial.
Yep, definitely.
So it's so you can bring up all the stupid points about all these stupid points about, like, how Islam is dangerous because it has these laws. It has these laws that I feel bad about. It doesn't matter because those laws are there for a purpose, and the greater purpose is much more important than those smaller things, right?
Yeah.
And this is how Islam is actually promoting peace, because it's promoting things that is more important than some trivial punishment for these laws.
Yep, definitely. So so shall we continue?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So in Greek, telos. So the fulfillment of Islamic law covers the protection and preservation of these 5 fundamental objectives, which are faith, life, intellect, lineage, and wealth.
See, I even gave the 5 points of Maqasid al-Sharia, and he never touched on any of them. Okay.
These values are universally transcendent and are seen as absolute requirements to an individual's survival and spiritual well-being, to the extent that the destruction or collapse
that's the
of any
thing.
of these objectives would precipitate chaos and the demise of the standard order.
Yes, sure.
That's the thing. Everyone values these things, like everybody.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter whether a Muslim, whether it's a Muslim, a non-Muslim, everyone values these things. And if everyone values these things and Islam establishes these things, then you cannot say Islam is dangerous. You have to say Islam is beneficial.
Exactly. That's my whole point. That's my whole point. But Apus never addressed this. He never addressed this fundamental point that I made. He just talked about Salman Pati, Salman Rushdie, blah 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 blah. This that. That's all he has. You see?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In society. Now about faith, the first objective. Islam values the maintenance of faith in God and the societal way of life based on this principle. Okay. To achieve this, Islam ensures that any threat to this value is nullified before it poses a danger to the Muslim community as a whole. This would include freedom of religion, a safe and secure environment which would allow Muslims to practice their faith without any threat, getting rid of Islamophobia, as it is currently rampant in Western nations.
Yeah, I know. I purposely said that.
And all these things are done while ensuring that other religions are also allowed to practice their respective faiths in peace and harmony in a Muslim-dominated society. And as any other self-respecting nation would do, Islam also takes preemptive steps as a countermeasure to ensure that this way of life is not undermined. This legislation is no different from how the United States, for example, treated Edward Snowden, Joseph Ahmed, Jonathan Pollard, Julian Assange, when they pose a threat to the integrity of the government. In light of achieving the greater good in this context, how then is Islam a danger to the world? Now the next objective, life. Islam values the protection and value of human life. Islam ensures that peace prevails throughout the world.
Just to note,
can achieve this aim.
Can you pause it? Just to note, and the reason I say that you won the debate is because he never responded to this point. Never once responded to the point.
No, he never talked about it. Yeah, I mean, he just glossed over.
This is how I saw a lot of like Muslims saying that, not Muslims, a lot of comments saying that, oh, MENJ lost. Like, did you guys watch like the same debate? Like, clearly, like he didn't even bother to respond to the main argument.
Yeah, he didn't even
respond to the main argument.
Talk about it. Because he didn't know, he has no clue what the argument really is about. You see, he was so obsessed with his own arguments that he never talked about it. Talk about my arguments. See.
Yeah.
And Islam is most certainly not a danger to the world if it values human life, because according to the words of the Quran itself, to kill one human is as though you have killed all of mankind. The purpose of justice in Islam, which includes the hard laws, is to ensure that crime is controlled and that the person involved can be reformed, or otherwise be taken out of society so that he or she will no longer be a threat to anyone else. Criminologist Edwin Sutherland published the Principles of Criminology in 1939. Sutherland argued that criminal behavior was learned, not an inherited trait. So exposure to crime, either through relatives or peers, gave a youth frustrated with his or her social status a choice to pursue crime. These bad influences could be lessened by good relationships with parents, teachers, an employer, or the community, values which Islam promotes. How then does this prove that Islam is a danger to the world?
For each maqasid that I espouse or that I explain about, I always added to that the question: how then does this show that Islam is a danger to the world? I ask this rhetorically, and he never responded to any of it. So
yeah, exactly.
Now the next objective: intellect. Islam cherishes and preserves the intellect, which is why throughout Islamic history, we see various advancements and achievements in the development of science and technology in the Muslim world, right up until the beginnings of Western colonialism and the fall of the Caliphate. At the same time, Islam also preserves and protects the intellect by forbidding alcoholism. On average, roughly 40% of inmates who are incarcerated for violent offenses were under the influence of alcohol during the time of the crime. True, alcohol may give people happiness, but that happiness is temporary. Not only does it lead to criminal activities, but it also leads to other vices which ipso facto jeopardize or badly affect the other values that I've mentioned earlier. So tell me again how Islam is a danger to the world. Now the next objective: lineage. Marriage is deeply rooted in natural human instincts. We crave romantic affection. This is a natural human inclination. So sociologists call this pair bond.
Can you pause? Okay.
Yeah,
so this part is actually very, very important. And I kind of wish you put more emphasis on this part, because one of the main things that many evolutionists or scientists, they emphasize is that, the reason, or one of the main reasons that we as a species have survived so long is because we are good at protecting our lineage. Okay, if you cannot protect our lineage, we're going to go extinct. And what is happening around the world? We see population decline, especially when it comes to modern nations. If you look at Japan, recently Elon Musk tweeted out that if Japanese people do not start having babies, they're going to go extinct by a certain amount of time. And that's exactly what's happening. Even though Japan was a very economically stable country, it has been falling ever since then because they're losing population. And it's a really bad situation, actually, both in Korea and in Japan. And it happened because of secularism. It's happened because of modernism. Yes. People don't have children.
Yes.
And this is a clear danger in the world. This is more dangerous than anything Apus mentioned, which is that the idea that we might actually go extinct because of his ideas. Islam can prevent that. So, I think it's a very good argument. And again, he never touched on this.
Thank you. No, he never. Yeah. He doesn't want to, or he knows it because he's too much concerned about apostasy. Okay, so he doesn't see the bigger picture. That's his problem. See.
Okay. And studies have proven that couples who are married are happier than non-married couples. Islam advocates the family unit and ensures that the lineage of mankind continues throughout the centuries. Towards this end, Islam ensures that the laws are in place to curb negative values that are a threat to the integrity of a family unit. And I'm not just referring to the Rainbow Club. Marriage requires sacrifices on both sides. Liberals are not interested in sacrificing their individual freedom. In the West, the concept of marriage is dying. People are barely getting married, and according to Pew Research, 70% of people will not choose to get married. Now, you contrast this with Islamic law, which preserves marriage and family. Islam does recognize individual freedom and other values.
By the way, it's not just that it's not just that they don't want, they're not getting married. It's also the case they don't want to have children, which is why you have things like abortion. So basically, they have an entire system which basically destroys human family, destroys the family unit, destroys the lineage, destroys faith. So they have all of this, and clearly this is leading to a very dangerous path because we're losing population, we're losing integrity between different people. People are becoming more, more aggressive because of things like alcohol and all these kind of things, and Islam prevents that.
Yes, definitely.
And he says that Islam is the thing that's dangerous, but all the thing that's allowing all this, that's fine.
Values for society and family to function. So again, how does this make Islam a danger to the world? The last objective: wealth. Islam encourages the preservation and maintenance of wealth. Islam does not frown upon capitalism.
About wealth, he never touched about it. Not even a single point about wealth. He just talks about something else.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the banking system, it has clearly destroyed entire nations. I mean, if you look at the amount of debt has increased.
I mean, you don't have to look very far. You can just look at
houses anymore.
You can just look at Sri Lanka. This is a good example, right?
For example, people cannot buy houses anymore because the price keeps increasing because banks keep giving loans and people cannot pay those loans. A lot of people are losing their houses on mortgages.
Yes.
And
that's right.
And there are studies that shows that increases amount of debt leads to depression. And if you look at Islam, it highly discourages debt or taking debt or taking interest.
Exactly.
And an interest-based system has done a lot of damage in our world. Also, it's completely unfair and unjust, because you're basically taking, you're basically getting paid for doing absolutely nothing, simply because you've waited for your own money. That's it. That's why you're getting paid.
That's right.
That doesn't make sense. So he's okay with that. He's okay with this type of unethical system that takes advantage of people. And he's saying that that's fine, but Islam is dangerous because it doesn't allow people. Like, what are you saying?
Definitely.
Islam also encourages elements of socialism and welfare in the form of Islamic fiqh of zakat and sadaqah of charity. Islam also implements taxations which are just and fair to run an administration of a state. Islam also recognizes that being poor and needy leads to instability and chaos in society, and tries to remove this by banning gambling and interest. This is consistent with what has been attested to by Western criminologists today, that a general disorder in the neighborhood leads to increased antisocial behavior and eventually to serious crime. So Islam does this without the need to rely upon secularist, humanistic values which are contrary to the Islamic economic and finance system. The implementation of an Islamic economic system has ensured success for Muslim nations even until today. We have Islamic bonds or sukuk and the Islamic banking system which have existed in Malaysia and in many parts of the Muslim world for over 30 years. So again, how does this support the position that Islam is a danger to the world? Now, to summarize all this, Islam is basically a realistic and a religion of pragmatism. It does not see the world purely from dystopian or utopian lenses, because the real world that we live in is neither this nor that, but it could be both in various situations. So in light of this, Islam does use force wherever and whenever it's necessary in order to achieve a wise purpose or hikmah behind every action and in the context of events. Now, it cannot be stressed enough that context is important in order to evaluate the every action of any Islamic ruling or values as recorded in the hadith or in Islamic history.
You see,
all I heard was Islam is not dangerous because dangerous is defined differently according to Islam. Yes, Islam applies force and discriminates and oppresses people, but it's for the greater good. It's for your own good. It's like when
that wasn't my argument at all. I mean, he just misrepresented what I said, right? Yeah.
When
the point is that there are certain values that everyone shares, and those values are being undermined, and Islam can protect that. And if Islam can't protect that, then how is that dangerous?
Exactly.
And if in order to protect that, you have to do certain things that you personally don't like, that doesn't mean anything.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Is severely abusive, but says, hey, don't complain. This is for your own good. That's basically what Islam does. Islam oppresses. As the Muslim apologist just pointed out, Islam suppresses people who are Islamophobic, meaning they just don't like Islam or they criticize Islam. It executes apostates, executes people who do all kinds of things, but that is not dangerous at all. That's just for your own good, because Islam knows best what's good for you. You don't know. You are an idiot.
So basically he's saying that you cannot punish criminals. You cannot punish criminals. If someone commits a crime in a state, you have to allow that.
yes. Basically, if someone wants to rape, basically, if someone wants to rape, murder, kill, it's all fine. Yeah, I mean, the guy is just a lawless bastard. Okay? Pardon my French.
Like if he wants to argue that these laws are dangerous because what it leads to or something, at least I would have understood. But like he's saying that someone simply disobeying a country or committing a crime is okay. Like why?
Why? Right? Yeah, why? I wanted to say something along those lines, but I had only 6 minutes, so I couldn't squeeze that in. So, but basically, he's saying that rapists, murderers, thieves, robbers, they should all be let go, because that is if you imprison them, if you jail them, if you punish them, that goes against their freedom of expression. Basically, that's basically his argument. Okay.
No, but basically, he's saying what he's trying to say is that he's trying to promote the utilitarian position, but he's not really doing that.
No,
he's not even arguing for like a utilitarian position. I mean, from an atheist point of view, none of these things are objectionable. So what is he saying? What is his objection here exactly? What's the logical reason why these things are bad?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's just because Islam is involved. That's why it's bad for him. It's that simple. It's that simple.
Let's continue, show.
Yeah. Okay, hang on.
which is one thing that I had to catch. He says that Islam doesn't encourage extremism. Islam is extremism. And by our standards, Islam, everybody will look at Islam as extremism. But what's funny is actually that this is not a line that he just made up. This is something that Muhammad said. He said, he talked about, don't be extreme, be moderate. And this is common among Muslims of all kinds to say, we are moderate, we are not extreme. And what's funny is...
Can you pause?
Yeah, so what's his point really?
Yeah, so, no. So he's saying that Islam is extremist. Define extremism. Like, what do you mean by extremism? Are you saying
exactly.
that, you know, letting our entire human race be extinct is not dangerous? Or is that extreme to try and stop that? Is it extreme to believe in God? Like, why is that extreme? Like, what is he talking about?
Okay, it doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, anyway, let's continue, all right?
Let's continue.
Yeah.
The reformists, the most peaceful Muslims, say the same thing, and Al-Qaeda, Taliban, ISIS also say the same thing. I'm not joking. ISIS actually says in their publications that we should abstain from being extremists, and that ISIS is the most moderate path. So when he says that doesn't mean anything because it's completely relative. I would really like MENJ to comment on the Salman Rushdie issue, for example. What does he think? Does he think it is wrong to kill people or to attack or harm people who have?
By the way, did you notice?
Does he think that
he completely ignored all your arguments?
Yep, he totally bypassed everything, and he just focused on his. You see, I mean,
which is very interesting. I can make the same case for any value without explaining why exactly we need that value. He said that Islam values life, and said that Islam actually.
Can you pause that?
Yeah, sure.
What did he say? Can you go back? I just want to respond.
Let me reverse that. I kind of missed that too.
He did not really explain why, though, which is very interesting. I can make the same case for any value without explaining why exactly we need that value. He said that Islam values life, and said that Islam.
Can you pause it? Can you pause it?
Yeah.
So basically, he's saying that. What is he saying? He's saying that he doesn't need to explain value because. So basically, you know, the point you brought up about faith. I think you mentioned that religious people are happier than non-religious people, right?
Yes, I did.
Was that?
I did mention that. Yeah, I think I mentioned that. Yeah.
So in case you guys don't know, religious people tend to be happier than non-religious people. And I mentioned that multiple times. There's a Pew study that shows this. There is even another study that was done on Muslims, that religious Muslims are happier than non-religious Muslims. So if you're a utilitarian, then you shouldn't have any issue with this. You should actually promote this.
Exactly.
You should want religious freedom and people to be more religious, okay? Because it leads to happiness. So yeah, that's why it's important. And so you're saying that it's not important for people to be happy?
No, I think he's also saying along the lines of these 5 values that I mentioned, they are not important to him because all other religions promote these values as well. But if that's the case, then what's the problem with Islam, right? If you think, if all other
Islam is not dangerous. He basically would concede the debate. Could admit Islam is not dangerous.
Basically, implicitly, he considered the debate because he says that you can find these values in other belief systems as well. So what's the problem here?
then the debate is conceded.
And the guy didn't realize that he considered the debate. You see?
He says, whoever takes a life, it is as if he had killed all mankind. The actual quote is in Quran chapter 5, verse 32, and says, this is what we said to the children of Israel, which, by the way, is wrong. The Quran just plagiarizes something from the Talmud.
This is nonsense, of course. I mean, even if it's found in the Talmud, it doesn't mean that the Quran plagiarizes it. So it's also irrelevant to the debate point anyway. So
also, this is a false cause fallacy. So basically, he's saying that because there's a similarity, that means that one thing caused the other. Like, for example, if
verse after that those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger and spread corruption in the land, that they should be crucified, their hands and feet cut off from opposite sides, killed, or
what does that mean, though?
This is how Islam is supposed to deal with
what does that mean?
So
basically,
what?
he's saying that. He's saying that. So basically, he's saying that if they violate laws of Allah's laws. So what are those laws? Those laws are that you shouldn't kill people illegitimately. You shouldn't oppress people. You basically he's describing a situation where Islam is clearly talking about people who are immoral or people who violate the laws, such as any type of crime that you can think of. Like, for example, crimes such as robbery, or crimes like any type of illegal kind of like people stealing other people's stuff. So any kind of crime and bad things, that's what Islam is describing. And he's saying that it's fine. He's saying that Islam is wrong for trying to punish criminals. Like, so that's just funny to me. So apus seem to think that punishing criminal is a bad thing. So I guess we shouldn't punish criminals then.
Yeah, we should just give them flowers and chocolates for doing the crime. You know, I mean, what he's expecting criminals to get a pat on the back for doing all those crimes. I mean, the guy is just, I don't know, he's just an idiot. You know, I mean, it doesn't make any sense sometimes. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's continue.
Yeah.
Who hurt Islam, but of course he can say, well, that's not bad because that's necessary, you know, for the greater good. But still, Islam is totally against violence and totally values life. Yeah, well, you also value fighting disbelievers and correcting them, and then still say, but Islam values life. That's not really how it works. He spoke of intellect, which I find very funny. I don't even know what to say about
can you pause this? So if you notice, he's just rambling. He's not giving any logical reason why that's a problem.
No.
Like, for example, you have to actually, in a debate, you're supposed to make arguments for your case.
Yeah.
He's just saying whatever he's coming to his mind. It's you know, he's saying that it's for the greater good. Yeah, that's completely sound. That's a sound argument. It is for the greater good. So why is that a bad thing? Like, why do you dislike that? Do you dislike greater good? Like, for example, if imagine there's a sickness that is spreading among people, and you have a cure. But in order to cure that, the person that you'll be curing will be sick for a few days. Like, of course, based on the fact that that person will be sick, you cannot decide and say that this whole thing is bad. Because, again, it is for the greater good. So what's wrong with this logic?
Exactly.
I don't understand. Like, he has no objection. He has no logical objection to this.
No.
He's just ranting.
If you notice, all his objections are all based on emotionalism and appeal to emotion. So if it causes a bad effect, therefore it's bad. That's it. I mean, if the result is if the objective of that particular law will leads to something bad in the beginning, like for example cutting off the hands because he steals or whatever, because of the cutting of the hand is therefore it's bad, you see. But he doesn't see the reason why the thief has to be cut off his hands.
Yeah, because if someone knows that if I steal and I get caught, my hand I'm gonna lose my hand. Do you think that person would think twice about stealing something?
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And this is why, if you look at Muslim countries with that has Sharia law intact, like especially the Gulf countries, have the lowest amount of crime.
Yeah.
They have the lowest amount of crime.
Yep.
So
talk about lineage, which
also, what is this laugh? What is this laugh?
Yeah, I chided him I actually chided him many times during the debate. I said, Demir, what's with your fake laugh? He's it annoys me the hell out of me during the debate. I mean, I was speaking during the debate. I was explaining something, and he was just. I mean, it sounds like
use marriage and coming together, and in the West, people do not marry. What's funny is if you actually look at the divorce rates, you will find that Muslim countries are very high in terms of numbers of divorce per marriage.
He made a claim, but he didn't substantiate it. Where are the facts and figures for this? What is his?
No. I think what he's talking. This is a point that a lot of actually, I know. I think I had a study here. I actually wanted to share a screen of a paper on unified lawyers that talks about all the countries and the divorce rates. Can I share the screen? If it's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So here it is. So if you look at all the countries, so basically this is what you're seeing. Global divorce rate is rising, and it's not just in Muslim countries, by the way, because it's rising everywhere in the world. Now, what is the thing that is increased in the world? Is it Islam or is it liberalism?
Yes, the liberalism, definitely.
Exactly. So it's not happening because of Islam. It's happening because of secular liberal values. Because if you look at this trend is continuously rising because we're adapting more and more of these secular values. We're not becoming more Islamic. So this is a completely wrong argument or fallacious argument to say. And also, if you look at all the countries of divorce rates, if you look at number one, is Russia. Is Russia?
Let's see the 10 highest. Just ignore the others. Just see the 10 highest countries with divorce rates. So Russia is not a Muslim country. Guam is not a Muslim country. Moldova is not a Muslim country.
Yeah.
What's
I think
sorry, can you make it larger? I can't read it. Belarus is not a Muslim country. Can you make it larger? I can see it. No, larger.
Yeah.
No, the whole thing larger. I mean, zoom in. I can see. I can see the name of the countries. Yeah. Yes. All right. Okay. Yeah. More. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. Belarus is not a Muslim country. Latvia is not a Muslim country. Lithuania is not a Muslim country. Kazakhstan is a Muslim country, but it's like at the bottom. It's number 8.
Yeah.
Cuba is not a Muslim country. Georgia is not a Muslim country. So out of the 10 countries that are listed here, only one is
let's look at, you're gonna find this interesting. Let's look at the lowest, right?
Okay.
Montic.
All right.
Okay, it's not a Muslim,
but
Tajikistan. Tajikistan is a Muslim country. What's going on here?
Yes.
I thought that Islam is causing this. Then why is this here?
Yes.
And you have Greece. Then you have Uzbekistan.
Uzbekistan is a Muslim country. Yes, that's right.
French Guiana. I think French Guiana might be Muslim. I'm not sure.
No.
Malta, Ireland.
Malta is not Muslim. Ireland is Qatar is a Muslim country.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very
low.
Why
are these countries here?
The lowest.
Yeah.
So there goes his point. See?
Yeah. So he's an idiot. And he was raised by major religion, and the majority are Protestant. Protestant are getting the most amount of divorce.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And average length of marriage by country: ECU,
Ecuador.
Germany, Australia,
ECU is Ecuador, New Zealand. None of them are Muslim countries. Australia, Canada.
No, this is average length of the country. Yeah.
Ecuador, Canada,
but
Sweden,
the US is the lowest. Only 8 years.
USA. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. None of them are Muslim countries.
And look at. By the way, this is a paper that is written by an expert. I think it's written by this guy.
Yeah.
He's a lawyer, and he did.
Can you share? Okay. Can you share me the link later after the stream?
Sure. So, and he listed the reason why people are getting divorced. He said lack of commitment, excessive arguing. By the way, Islam promotes commitment between husband and wife. Right? There are Islamic teachings that says that you should wives should obey their husband, and husbands should also be love their wife, because if you're not, then there are actually punishments for that. So this is again not happening because of Islamic reason. And then excessive arguing, again, this is also not allowed in Islam, because I mean, of course there can be arguments, but you're not supposed to be disrespectful to your wife or spouse to the excessive extent. Infidelity, again, something that's not allowed.
That is why we have that is why
infidelity
we have Surah Nisa verse 34. That's the reason. The miswak, right?
Infidelity, again, another thing, un-Islamic. Marrying too young. Now, this is a point that a lot of people bring up, that marrying too young is not the issue here. Because if you look at the one of the reasons why this is happening is because people are getting married late, and when you get married late, sometimes the things just don't work out, because you don't want to stay with this person, because you want to focus more on your career. That leads to divorce and all these other kind of things. So and none of this has anything to do with Islam, and he makes a very stupid point that I think is
and the thing is, he never did cite the source. He just simply made a remark, and then he never actually never actually cited the source. Whereas I cited the source. You see, whatever I said, I actually cited the source.
For example, Saudi Arabia has higher numbers of divorce than many European countries, and the same goes for many other Muslim countries. Islam also is not about a man and a woman and children.
It's false. It's false, definitely.
For example, Russia,
possibly 4 wives,
very low in terms of divorce, and Russia is not a Muslim country.
Yes, exactly.
Sex slaves and multiple children. Islam also allows for you to marry a little child. For example, I'm sure MENJ here will have no issue with the fact that Muhammad himself married a 6-year-old child when he was 55 years old and had sex with her. I'm sorry, James, I know you don't like when this is brought up here. Had sex with her when she was 9 years old.
But you only have
By the way, what is he saying? So basically, the Prophet's marriage is not like, for the fact that Prophet married someone, that itself doesn't make it a ruling. Islamic age of marriage is 15, according to most scholars. Now, of course, there vary sometimes.
Puberty, puberty, of course.
If they hit puberty earlier, then of course it's puberty. But if it doesn't, then the general age is 15. 15 is when considered you're completely allowed for marriage. So that's completely normal with and go along with any of the Muslim
every single society, every human society in the world, in the civilized world accepts the idea that someone is mature enough when he or she reaches puberty. Okay, it is only Western secular liberalism today,
and they're fine with it as well. Like I can find like hundreds of examples where they already lost their virginity by the age of 10 in most Western countries. I mean, like they're already dating, they're going to prom
unofficially, right? Unofficially, right? That's right. That's
but if they get married, then it's a problem.
Oh, it's a big no. You can't get married. You can only do it before you get married, right? So this is the.
By the way, another reason. This is the point I wanted to make, which is that but basically the study it says that one of the reasons for divorce is because early marriage. But the thing is that if you look at the past, most people got married earlier. So then why didn't we have divorce back then? So clearly, early marriage has nothing to do with divorce, because. If you see divorce rate is going up, if this was the case that early marriage causes divorce, then it would have happened back then, not now. But it's happening now because of modernism, basically because of secularism, because of feminism.
Because people are marrying late. People are marrying late today. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Even I myself married late. I didn't marry when I was young. Okay.
I mean, I haven't married yet. I'm still like an incel looking for
exactly.
wife. Maybe you can find someone from me in Malaysia. I can move in.
Inshallah. But you see, that's the thing. It's everywhere in the Muslim world, even in the Muslim world, where people don't marry early. Okay. I mean, my grandmother this was before the Second World War, of course. She married when she was 14. My late grandmother. It was that young, okay, and it was acceptable, and nobody called my late grandfather a pedophile, okay. You see, because it was accepted, okay. But it is only today, for some weird reason which I cannot understand, that when someone marries when they reach at puberty, but at below the legal age, they are called pedophiles. I don't understand what's the logic behind this. Okay.
This is a very kind of like dishonest and disgusting practice, that they think that anytime a older person marries a younger person, they think that that's bad. But why is that bad? Like, I mean, you're okay with a man having committing sodomy with another man, but you have an issue with older person marrying a younger person. Why? Especially if they reach puberty and they want to commit to this relationship. Then
if they reach puberty and both parties agree to the marriage, I personally I don't see any problems with it. Okay. I mean, I personally won't do it myself, but if another person wants to marry the woman because let's say she's 14 years old and the guy is 20 something years old, and the guy wants to marry the woman because she wants to get married to the guy. I personally don't see any problem with it. I wouldn't do it myself because I don't have any reason to do that. But if the other person wants to do it, why is that wrong? What's the problem? He wants to get married. He's not raping the woman,
and
right?
Another thing, if you look at like human society and the way people's biology works, is that the older a woman gets, the less chances they have of becoming pregnant. This is a major issue, because nowadays you will see a lot of women cannot have children because they marry late. This is a major problem. So in order for our own survival, we actually do need to marry early. And this is a fact.
So true. Yep, it's a fact. I mean, once a woman reaches the age of 40 above, it's very difficult for her to get pregnant. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, let's continue.
So basically, what he's saying is actually against science. It's against common sense. It's against scientific or beneficial reason. Because if you actually want the human species as a race to survive, I mean, look at what's happening in Japan. They're literally going extinct. And they said that by the way, Daniel had a debate with these other kind of like Murtad who brought up this point, which is that, so how are you going to solve this problem in Japan, countries like Japan or Korea? And his solution is that we're going to bring immigrants. But then you're going to bring all these kind of like savage Muslims from all these other countries into your country. How's that a solution?
Okay. So anyway, what I've listened to, all that rubbish that I've listened to from Mr. Idemir is basically things that I've been listening to or refuted since 2003. Okay, because I have this website called Bismika Wahuma, and most of these anti-Islam claims, exist like way back. Okay, so what he proposes here is really nothing new.
He was probably a child back
then. Let me see now the notes there. He gave examples of people being killed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the guy was not.
He was probably a child. He was in school.
Well, I did that website back when I was in college, so I don't know how old he is now. But it's possible that he may have been in primary or maybe in secondary. I don't know. Okay.
In the name of Islam. Okay. So if people are killing other people in the name of Islam, that doesn't mean that the other person represents Islam. See, because Mr. Aidemir seems to have this impression that whatever happens in one remote part of the world somehow represents me, in a remote peninsula in Southeast Asia. So why am I being held accountable for something that happens in the US, in Nigeria, in the Middle East? I'm not an Arab. I'm a Malay. Okay, I'm a Malaysian. Okay? And of course, we profess the same religion, Islam. But I mean, whatever actions that a Muslim does, or someone who claims to be a Muslim does in some remote part of the world, doesn't necessarily represent me. Okay, and of course, I mean, I don't.
Just to can you pause it for a bit?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, Aki, if is it okay if I criticize your point here a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Please do. That's the whole. That's the whole point.
We want to do better, right? So
yeah, of course,
you could have. I think you could have made this point a lot better by saying that basically, the people that APUS is talking about, they're violating Islamic law. So of course to condone that. Sorry. So of course to condemn that, right?
Yes.
So how does that then make sense for him to accuse Islam of this when Islam itself Islam itself condemns this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's like, again, part of this point, which is that's like saying that someone is drinking alcohol and you say Islam is causing this. No, that doesn't make sense. That's a contradiction. I mean, you're saying that Islam doesn't allow this, but at the same time also allowing this. So you're basically like making like a contradiction. But I understand the point you're trying to make as well. Like, I think you're trying to say that.
I guess in at the time because I only had 6 minutes, so I had to like condense everything, and then I was scribbling everything on that piece of paper, so I had to I had very short amount of time to organize everything and make it coherent.
And that's one of the main problems that I have with like live debates is that oftentimes you cannot always make the best argument possible because of shortage of time. If you look at even with like Brother Daniel, he oftentimes brings up a lot of points and makes it very, very clear that he cannot articulate in the debate itself. But that's fine. I think like in the context of debate,
I think that's normal in any debate. But the thing is, Apus, he doesn't even get any of my arguments. He just shoots in the dark. That's his problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a difference between me and him. At least I try to make my point across, even though it wasn't very clear. But he doesn't even seem to get my point at all.
See? He doesn't care, honestly. I don't think he cares.
He
cares.
I don't think so.
He doesn't care about any of the logical reasoning or sound reasoning. He just talks about his feelings and emotion and why, and he feels bad to him. That's why it's bad.
No,
there's
basically,
no logic
he's using the debate as a platform to advance his propaganda of apostasy. That's all.
It's not about propaganda. Propaganda has logic behind it. He has no logic behind it. He has no logic behind anything he's saying.
Yeah, illogical propaganda, if you want to put it that way. Okay. So anyway, let's continue, right? Okay.
Of violence, being committed against other people in the name of Islam. But he's conflating things. He's just mixing up things. He's confusing things. The Islamic law, for example, he talks a lot about the issue of apostasy. Not surprising because he claims to be an apostate himself. But the law of apostasy is only applicable in the Muslim state. Okay? If you apostatize,
right.
Just to bring a little bit of another critique, which is that I don't think you should have followed him in this rabbit hole of like talking about apostasy law or blasphemy law. You should have articulate your main point, which is that if Islam is protecting these things that are universal, and we see the bad effects of this, such as countries like Japan or Korea, which is literally going extinct, then how does that make Islam bad, or how does it make Islam dangerous, right? Isn't it your ideology that's dangerous, right? So you should have articulated your main argument instead of like following him in this kind of like the stupid, irrelevant point.
I think I follow him too much into the rabbit hole. I should have focused more on my intro, which is
I think this is something that Brother Daniel does really well, where he doesn't when people bring up these all irrelevant points, he doesn't address them. He just stick to the main topic.
Well, I guess I can only improve. I guess I can just improve more for as long as I debate. If I continue debating, eventually I will improve. I mean, you're not going to improve.
But you did well. You still won the debate.
I hope so. Inshallah, I hope so. I did. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier on in the stream, it's not about winning or losing. It's about presenting the Islamic viewpoint and to refute whatever points that he made. Right. But I think overall, I think I did well. I mean, it's not to say that I won or lose, but I think I did better than him. So that's the point.
I mean, you won. I mean, clearly from a logical point of view, you clearly won. He didn't respond to your argument. He couldn't respond to your argument. He brought up irrelevant points, made fallacies. And I don't see how any can say he's won the debate.
I hope so. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, let's continue, right? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
In the the Muslim state, and you declare, basically you're declaring war against the Muslims. So of course, the law will be applied to you. Okay, so I would actually suggest Mr. Aidemir to actually take a look at this book and try to read the contents of this book and re-educate
Bro,
himself.
did you actually try to get apus to read books?
Yeah, I did. I actually tried to get him to read books. I know that he will never read it anyway. I just wanted to taunt him with the book. No, I just wanted to show that
you're trying to educate you're trying to educate like a guy that says that the sky is red. That's who you're trying to educate. By the Congress on like 4K subs. Alhamdulillah. You almost reached 4K subs. Yeah,
I haven't reached it. I haven't reached it yet. Right? I think it's 3.99 at the moment.
Very close.
3.99.
Inshallah, you'll reach 4K.
So. I hope so. I hope so. Inshallah. Yeah.
None of these points are going through his head. Bro, just look at his face. He's looking.
I don't think he's even paying attention. Yeah, he's not paying attention at all to
pulling up Google. He's googling this on Google.
He's googling. He's checking in Google and see whether whatever I said is true or not.
He's not listening to anything.
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely not. Yeah, I mean, he's probably chatting with someone else. I don't know. Maybe it's possible he's WhatsApping someone. I don't know.
Interesting point regarding this. So, you're familiar with the Mughals, right? The Mughal kings.
The Mongols, the Mongols.
No, not Mongols. Mughals.
Mughals. Sorry, not Mongols. Sorry, Mughals.
Mughals. Yeah. So in India,
India,
the royal family, the Muslim royal family, they ruled in India for a long period of time. Yeah. And I believe the last king, Aurangzeb, he had jizya. He put jizya in effect. And basically, there's I think I read it somewhere in one of my videos where I put out a Hanafi fiqh book. It's a very old Hanafi fiqh book that Aurangzeb he was basically used. And in that book, they make it clear that if someone cannot pay jizya, they don't have to pay. And people only have to pay jizya as to the amount they can pay. Like for example, if you can only pay like $1, that's all you pay. You don't have to pay more than that. So it depends. Like if someone is poor, of course, the country is not going to force them. As a Muslim, you cannot force them. But for rich people, of course, it's kind of like an obligation. So it's not completely. Is there any system like that in modern countries? No. Is it the case that if you don't want to pay tax or only want to pay a certain amount of tax, you can? No. So there's more freedom in Islamic Sharia than there is in modern capitalist system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, we Muslims, we have to pay the zakat at 2.5%, right? That is much more than the jizya.
Yeah.
That's definitely much more than jizya. So yeah.
In those times, in those days. I mean, today, in the modern world, even the president of the head of a state of a government will have the power to go ahead with the execution of prisoners. Or
I mean, this is something that stupid people like Apus will never understand, which is that no government in the world will allow a type of speech that would compromise their position. No government.
Exactly.
You can. I challenge any liberal or any kind of like Islamophobe to show me otherwise. Like, do you think that if there's a type of speech, or if you're like an ISIS supporter, and you're like promoting this ideology, you'll be allowed to speak in public universities? No, you'll be arrested, if not executed.
I mean, let's put it simply. Let us put it simply. Let's say I wrote a speech praising Hitler, and I go to Europe let's say in Paris, in front of the Eiffel Tower, and I have a loudspeaker, and I read out this speech praising Hitler. What do you think would happen to me? What do you think would happen?
I mean, or if you go out there and say that Holocaust didn't happen or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll be in jail.
If I say something like that, I'll be so much for freedom of speech, right? Freedom of speech. You see? So even liberals don't practice freedom of speech. Okay. Yeah. Oh, but
for example, the assassination of Bin Laden himself. Okay. Right. So I mean, I guess So the example that he gave are all emotional. They're not based on reality, and they are sometimes even.
Actually, you know what? That's a good point. Can you pause this? So the execution of OBM is actually a very good point. As a matter of fact, I've actually seen a lefty liberal YouTuber actually making this exact same point, which is that why is it the case that we argue for human rights, but we don't really argue for human rights based on logic. We argue because that's the position we have. And she was basically arguing. She's like she's studying, I think, philosophy of law. And basically she makes this point that the execution of like I don't know that channel's name, but she basically makes the point that the execution of OBM was illegal under international law because that's
not just OBL, but also the latest assassination of Ayman al-Zawahiri. They use a drone strike on him. Yeah, same thing. Same case.
Yeah, so that's like those are like extrajudicial killings, which means that they hold a position in another country, and simply because they don't like him. By the way, the whole way that the Afghanistan invasion started is when America demanded that OBM be transferred to them, and when the Taliban refused, they invaded. They literally invaded.
Yes.
But they had no evidence. They had no evidence. So they executed him because they saw him as a threat.
Exactly. And so if we analogize this to the incident of Ka'b al-Ashraf, why is it that when the Prophet did it to Ka'b bin Ashraf, it is considered to be wrong and immoral? But when America does it to their enemies, OBL and Ayman al-Zawahiri with a drone strike, it's absolutely fine. You see the point I was trying to make?
And the thing is that since there was no trial, this is extrajudicial killing, and this is no different than something like blasphemy law.
The proper way, you see, the proper way, according to the liberal secularist mind, is to arrest Bin Laden and to bring him to court, to bring him to justice.
Court, and that's something that the Taliban said, actually. They said that let's bring him to court.
And until today, it has never been done. To be honest, we don't even know whether he's guilty or not. I mean, we there's no court, there's no trial, there's no witnesses, nothing. So we don't know, right? Until today, we don't really know, right? So I'm not saying that he's not guilty, but I'm not saying that he's innocent. I'm not saying that he's innocent. I'm not saying he's not guilty either. So, but because we don't know, in the end, we don't know, right? I mean, America just assumes that he's guilty, and therefore they just hunt him down and kill him. See,
And by the way, they're not even doing this in their own land; they're doing it on another land, which is even more crazy.
Yeah, which is worse. It goes against the Geneva Conventions and the international law. Okay. I mean, back then in the time of the Prophet,
that's the whole point. Like any government that feels threatened has the right to protect itself by eliminating anybody.
Yeah, eliminating
as long as
the enemy.
they pose an objective threat.
Yeah, exactly. And this has been going on for centuries. But when the Prophet does it, it's wrong. Islam is dangerous.
Want to say?
I think it's
okay.
It's
that's the end.
So, that's the end. Yeah. So
after that is Q&A, right?
Yeah, it's Q&A. I think, but I think let's do that at another time because I think it's too long. So
no, we're not gonna do the Q&A. I think that's enough.
Yeah.
If that's the end, then that's the end, inshallah.
Yeah, that's the end. Yeah, that's the end actually. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's get rid of this guy's face. I don't want to see.
Okay, let's remove. Yeah, I don't want to see his face either. Oh my god. So basically that's the analysis. So I think overall I did okay. It's just that maybe there are some things which I should have stated more.
No, you clearly won the debate. You made a very good point, which is that
thank you.
Why is it the case that if this is the case that we have these universal values such as lineage, family, faith, and Islam protects that, then why is it the case that then Islam is bad, or Islam? How does that make Islam dangerous, right? Because and any type of critique you want to bring against Islamic laws, that can be justified because Islam is protecting a greater interest, right? So it doesn't matter how many times you want to whine about.
Most of his arguments were already refuted in my opening statement because I said historical context and greater good must be considered in any analysis of Islamic law.
And not just that, like everybody in the world values these things. So how can you say that this is dangerous then?
Exactly.
Do you think that and by the way, did you know that Japan actually banned I think it's gay marriage? I think I saw somewhere. I think Brother Daniel posted that. Yeah, and they have a completely legit reason for this because their population is declining.
Not surprised.
And it makes perfect sense to allow this type of things because for the greater interest. Of course, any country would do that. So definitely. How does that make it dangerous? That doesn't make it dangerous.
Yeah, it doesn't make it dangerous.
So he fails to respond to this argument. He provided no logical reason for any of
basically, all
this?
his argument, like I said in the closing statement or my opening statement, the last para, he was just appealing to emotionalism. He was just appealing to Islamophobia, and he was just appealing to things which he dislikes, but he doesn't see the greater good. That's basically his points. That's basically how you can sum up his opening statement and his rebuttal.
So basically, there's no logic behind any of his argument. He's just
No, it's all
committing
emotional.
fallacies after fallacies.
So it's all emotional.
Fallacies after fallacies.
I don't like this. No, basically it's like this. I don't like this law, and this law is what Islam practices. Therefore, Islam is dangerous.
Yeah. So basically, a bunch of red herrings, a bunch of questionable cause fallacies, a bunch of
definitely.
And a bunch of other like stupid points, and also cherry picking, taking things out of context. So I think you won the debate, alhamdulillah.
I hope so. I hope so.
And I think we should end it here. It's all been actually, let's wait another minute. It's almost 3 hours. Let's go for 3 hours.
God. It's going to be 3
the
hours
longest.
Now. Oh my God, it's one of our longest streams, right? My God, I think the last longest stream that we did was the one where we talked about Jay Smith's fake debate with the psychopath David Wood, right? That was 3 hours. That was 3 hours each, right? So there was 6 hours.
I think we should end it here.
Okay, sure.
Thanks for inviting me, by the way.
No problem.
It was nice.
Anytime.
Although you were kind of late, so
sorry about that. I fell asleep. Really, I don't know why I did that.
That's fine.
Anyway, I think after this stream,
you should go back to watching Cobra Kai. Inshallah.
I was just going to say that after this stream, I'm going to go and have a drink, and then after that, I'm coming back and continue my Cobra Kai.
So thank you for inviting me. And obviously, this guy Apus is a joke. He's a complete joke, and that has been further demonstrated.
I don't know why people love him. To the point that he has like
stay away from Apus. Yeah. Let's end it with that.
Stay away from the idiocy of Ipus. Okay, that's the best. That's the best way to say it. Put it. I mean, he always like to say, "Stay away from Islam. Stay away from Islam." But, people should just stay away from him. Stay away from Ipus. Yeah, definitely. All right. So So anyway, thank you everyone for watching this stream. If you like this channel, please do not forget to like my channel. Also, go to Brother Islamic Calling's channel and like his channel, and watch his videos. Inshallah, in the future we will have more collabs like this in the future. I hope you're open to that.
By the way, if any of my audience is watching, subscribe to Brother MENJ and help him. Help him this direction. Help him reach 4K subs.
Inshallah. I hope so. So anyway, yes. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again in a future video. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.